Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Beverly Hills View. Our guest is Michael Chow, Beverly Hills residents, Beverly Hills visitors, pop culture, and society as a whole. With an international reputation, Michael is an entrepreneur of note. I've known him for years and always thought he was a person who did things that he loved doing. Always on the cutting edge, but with style and grace. He sits on the Board of Governors of the Broad Museum in Los Angeles, is a supporter of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and all things art-wise. Michael Chow was born and raised in Shanghai, China, moved to London as a teenager, studied at St. Martin's School of Arts, then at the Hammersmith School of Building and Architecture, after which he painted for 10 years with exhibitions in such prestigious London galleries as the Red Fern and the ICA. So before I ask him why it was art, he has a poem that he's written, and I'm just going to do the beginning of it because it's called A Poem of Life, and it starts, born into innocence, grasping for breath, I was struggling for life. So I'm not going to go any further, Michael. I don't think
dramatic ending. Dramatic beginning.
Was life a struggle, actually?
Of course.
You think it was?
Well, it was because I had asthma from the minute when I take the first breath. I had asthma.
So and that was.
Asthma is an extraordinary difficult thing to have, and people who have asthma, they always talk about it. And a lot of talented people, thank God, have asthma, like Martin Scorsese. A lot of people. Because asthma makes you so uncomfortable and you become so sensitive to things. Yeah.
So you have a different outlook. So this was, I was struggling for life.
Yeah,
in the beginning.
Gasping for life, and also, you know, Chinese saying there's you're either born innocent or you're born guilty, and there's been that debate. It's like to be or not to be. So I decided, starting from my bio poem, with I was born in innocence, and then I was grasping for life, you know, which is kind of a dramatic opening.
It is dramatic, and it's dramatic for us because we were going to go through your life, and now we started with, which is great, with your poem of life. So
yes.
We can finish with it at the end.
Okay.
Why was it art for you then instead of architecture? You were at a great architecture school.
Yes. Well, again, the minute I was born, the music subliminally was in my ear. My father was the iconic national treasure involved with Beijing Opera. And so I was born into the theater, if you will. And so art has always been my basis. I breathe and live with art.
But you know, I never realized that. And I've known you since the 60s, and I didn't
yes.
know that because you had a different genre going
yeah.
when I met you.
I'm smiling because you would not be, although you know me very well, but most people don't know me. And this is kind of, if I may be so bold and dare to say, this is a little bit to do with racism. Because if I were, then you would know my father is Puccini, Shakespeare, the greatest actor of the 20th century. The laundry list goes on, right? Elvis and everything else. But since I am not from the same culture, you know very little of me. You only know me as a Chinese man who has a restaurant and stereotyped, you know. So there's a huge man behind this want to come out.
But I put you in a different category because I always knew you with artists because at the restaurant there was always artists. So I didn't know that you were a painter. Yeah. And that was what your connection was to these artists. Who influenced you with the art? Did it
My
come
father,
from Chinese?
The minute I was born, the music already came in here.
But was it Chinese calligraphy?
No, I wouldn't go into the middle, but I would go to the beginning. If you ask me that question, basically, I was born into music, right? Born into that music, born to the theater, and therefore every fiber in my body, I breathe and live from the arts.
But
so if I don't become an artist, who became an artist, so to speak?
Did you sing?
No, I did not. Although I can sing badly, but Beijing Opera is a total theater, which involves everything, and the most difficult theater in the world. The most, of course, all Chinese things to me they're fabulous.
It's hard to understand, but it has stories, right? The opera.
Story beyond, even beyond Shakespeare, beyond Greek tragedy. Yeah, again.
When you were painting in the 50s and early 60s,
right.
Who were your artist friends in London?
Oh, everybody. The usual suspects. The gentleman you just talked about is part of my David Hockney, Sir Peter Blake, Richard Smith. In the counterpart, in the distance, there was Jackson Pollock, and all that. That was younger generation. I mean, older generation to me, but America coming up. And then later on, I grew up with Jackson Pollock, so to speak. So then later on, of course, pop art came into focus.
Do you think that was an influence on your painting career?
Which part?
The artist, being with those artists. Did you talk about art? Did you?
Well, no, I am an artist, so I'm with them.
So you're with them. You're one
with
of them.
them.
I got it.
Yeah.
You talked about your father being an icon, but your whole family comes from a tradition of Chinese opera. Your grandparents.
Well, my sister, who's an actress, did many movies in the West, a lot of plays. She graduated in Royal Academy of Art. My brother took footstep of my father. Yes, we come from the theater. And my father's father, all family, grandparents, great-grandparents, all in the theater.
So did they study theater, or do you have is there a school for the Peking Opera that's all they immerse themselves in?
I'm laughing again because, I have a saying, expensive, heavy, and difficult is usually good. And based on the word difficult, the Beijing Opera is the most difficult, therefore the greatest theater on this planet. It's a total theater, encompasses every aspect of theater. So this is the greatest theater, although it's dying now because it's so difficult that no one wants to follow.
Oh, that's what I was wondering, because you go to school all your life? Is that it?
No, you grew up in the early days. In the early days when my father first started, he was a child protege. He was famous when he was 6 years old.
Oh.
And then very tough life,
I see.
For instance, in training, you use your eyes. In Beijing Opera, it's always the eyes, right?
Oh, right. It's the
Everything
movement.
Everything is in the eyes anyway. In the movie you got Scarface, Chico, it's all in the eye. So when they do training with the eye, young kids like 7 years old, and when the eyes, you know how they punish them?
What do they do?
Of course, there are no child abuse laws. They ask them to come over. They look at the eye. They take their eyelid, the top, pinches it like that, and squeeze. And then next day, two black eye like this. Huh?
So that they have the awareness of their eyes?
No, so they get pain, and usually pain kind of works.
I see.
And there's a saying in China, actors are beaten out of them.
Ah.
But my father never got beaten because he was so talented. He was a genius. He was like a Picasso or whatever,
You talk about your father being such a genius. Your mother was a big influence on your life, you say.
Absolutely. My mother, she fell in love with an actor, which is a big no-no, and she came from a very wealthy tea family, and they eloped it, and she had a very tough life, and when she was 24, she went to the press and talked about injustice for women. And
really?
Yeah, she was like...
Fabulous.
The whole story of my mother,
That's great. So when you were in London, they sent you off to London. Did you go to private school?
Well, it's not so nice. I mean, at that time, I can only describe China was like North Korea. There's a completely bamboo curtain. There was Korean War going on.
I was going to ask you about that.
And all that. And when I was 13, I was sent to London alone on the foggy day, that day that killed 18,000 people.
Oh.
The London fog, right? Famous in the movie called Crown, which cost $100 million to produce, and 10 episodes. And the next one is coming out, which I'm looking forward to, and with Winston Churchill and all that.
Yeah.
So on that time, and I was devastated because I lost everything. I didn't speak English very well. I didn't even become an orphan, because an orphan at least has a home, and so I have nothing familiar to me.
Where did they send you? Who did they send you to?
Send it to London, in the heart of London.
Whom? Who was there?
My mother arranged some guardian from a law firm or something. So I become alone in the Pacific, so to speak. And so I have a choice of die or survive. And luckily I survived.
Did they come to visit you in London, your family? Did they ever come? They could.
It's like North Korea. Just like
Oh,
North
it's like
Korea,
the-
we will do very well.
I see.
There's
So,
no communication, zero.
so they
I never saw my
suffered.
father again, ever. Never communicated with him, never wrote to him, never heard his voice on the telephone. There was no telephone, and nothing. So this tragedy, which in my poem, which is given by God to me, and make me suffer. And in order to make me suffer, I will to test me, as it were. So either two way to go, either go down or go up, and I'm hoping I'm going up.
So they were totally affected by the Cultural Revolution.
Well, that's later.
That was
we have
later?
a historical thing. Yes, I wrote a bioepic movie which I was going to direct, and it consists of me and my father, but basically my father's life, and which would take care of the history of China.
How did you research that? Because if you never saw your father again after all those years, you must have had Chinese
It's called
researchers.
Google and.
With Google.
Why do you do normal research?
But you know,
it took me years to write the thing, by the way.
they did celebrate your father for his brilliance.
Yeah.
Did you go to China when they did that?
Yeah, they did. I was there when it's 100th anniversary, 120 years anniversary.
did?
The whole country celebrated.
So was it easy though this time to go in and out?
Now,
Yeah, for you.
you see, the certain ignorance about China, which is, in my opinion, is somewhat unfortunate, right?
That well, I've been
You know what
to
I'm saying?
China, but
so
it's
you're,
great.
you're mingling time together. You see, it's a little attack on you.
It's an attack on how good.
You did do your research.
Why should it be any different?
Cultural
'Cause
Revolution came much later. Cultural Revolution is the worst crime. I mean, not worst crime. Worst devastating event of the global history of mankind.
So it came way after them.
Yeah, last 10 years.
I see.
And my mother got beaten by it and died from it, and my father suffered and all that
Well,
stuff.
so they did. They did get it. They were affected by it.
No, they were.
They were part of it.
Put it mildly.
Right, to put it mildly. So in the mid 60s,
Right.
you're in London. You've gone to
In the
school.
mid-50s, already in London.
Right,
Yeah.
but during the mid 60s,
Right.
something happened.
Yes.
Things changed.
Yeah.
Art took a back seat to you that we know of. Did you stop painting?
Well, what happened is I painted 10 years religiously among all my peers, like people like David Hockney and so on and so forth. And then I find I'm swimming against tide due to basically racism, I guess. I have no chance, no chance, zero chance. So I took on I appointed myself a self-appointed cultural ambassador, and to make the restaurant into a theater, to promote the Chinese culture through the restaurant cuisine, to make it great again.
Then why
In the
a
words of
restaurant?
somebody, huh?
Why a restaurant? Here you were in art.
Oh, because
why did you
because
get to
I'm
a restaurant?
Chinese and I know my place, and they only gave me two choice as a man, two profession. One is laundry and one is restaurant. I choose restaurant.
Did
You're
you know
supposed to
how
laugh at this point.
I know. Did
Okay.
you know how to cook?
And Japanese is gardener and restaurant or whatever.
But that goes back to what you were talking about is the feeling of racism. That doesn't happen.
Not
now.
feeling of racism, you actually get it.
Actually
Yeah.
hitting you
So
with
the
it.
Chinese restaurant was low of low, and I did a Vivian Lee, Gone with the Wind intermission, where Vivian Lee in the middle of the field grabbed a bunch of earth and stood up and said, "I'll never go hungry again." Remember that scene?
Yeah, and then you said
And
that.
I did the same thing. I said, okay, I'm going to make this low of low culture into high of high of high. And so today we are about to enjoy a little commercial here. 50 years anniversary of Mr. Chow on the 14th of February 2018.
In Beverly Hills, in
somewhere.
New York,
In
New York,
everywhere.
in everywhere.
In
Oh, we're gonna,
everywhere.
everywhere. Okay.
When someone says, oh, come and stay with us, and you say, where? He said, anywhere.
Anywhere,
He was so
everywhere.
rich. He was so rich.
Right. When actually I wanted to ask because I remember going to Mr. Chow in London for the
Right.
first time, but I thought there was another restaurant on Queens Way that you were.
Yeah,
had
I
started.
opened several Chinese restaurants. Yeah, and also Japanese restaurant, also Italian restaurants. Very versatile. In those days, I used to open a restaurant a week. So, to
So
speak.
we were right about that. You
You
had
were-
a
who
fish
were
and
right
chip.
about
I
that?
was right because people said no, Mr. Chow was the first.
Yeah, I
one.
opened many restaurants, Italian, everything. 9 clubs. I nearly bought Hard Rock from Peter
Oh.
Morton, but instead I bought Monkbury, which is the club where I was so dumb. I could have bought Hard Rock.
But you're talking way later. How'd you find the place on Knightsbridge?
Oh, I looked for a place, blah, 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 and then a phone rings from a estate agent. I picked it up, and within 5 minutes, I knew that's the right place.
That was it?
That was
the
it.
neighborhood was great. You had Keith's.
Yeah.
Keith, the hair
Knightsbridge
salon.
is great, yeah. You have Scotch House there, you have Harris across the street.
Right.
It's a kind of a, very chic area, right?
But it was upstairs.
Yeah.
Did that make a difference that you didn't enter on the street level like we do in Beverly Hills?
Well, the thing is, I come from a culture where we are poor and God made us poor, and you use everything. For instance, the Chinese, they use everything about the chicken. They eat everything about the chicken except the feather. Except the feather. So based on that, you have to make all negative into positive. That's the trick. I mean, that's the secret, right?
So that's what you did?
So upstairs is no good. So what happened is like this, okay? Here comes the charmer trick. So when people call and you say, oh, do we have a table? You say, oh, sorry, we don't have a table upstairs tonight. They say, no, we don't want to go upstairs. You say, yeah, okay, that's good. We'll book you downstairs. You say, what's upstairs? No, it's fully booked upstairs. So psychologically, they say, wow, upstairs is the place to be.
Because it's fully booked.
In fact, it is.
It
so
is.
therefore, I control it and maitre d', so to speak, make upstairs really hot and really have a star table, star areas, and then it's beginning.
So this is the 60s. You're doing this reverse psychology. You're doing great PR for yourself. You know what to do with people.
No, I don't never do great PR for myself. I do great PR for China, my people, my country.
For your country, okay.
My beloved country.
Mr. Chow. But I never knew that Michael Chow wasn't your real name.
Nothing is my real name. I mean, in fact, my real name is Zhou, which is spelled differently, and Chow is already beginning to be a kind of racism of spelling, and that's why all this time, and recently I become an artist, and I want to be called M.
So tell me how you say the name that your family gave you.
Zhou.
That's it? Oh, Zhou.
Zhou is my last name.
I got it.
And Yinhua means, in direct translation, China's hero.
Which you're Beverly Hills hero.
Of course I'm China's hero.
You're our hero. But so it pretty much gave you your name, except Michael. That was a little different.
Yeah.
And
then Chow becomes, it's the food name, it's blah, blah, blah. Then I say, okay, let me put Mr. before it so they can respect me. And I got that from Kirk Douglas movie, in Champion. And and Sidney Poitier in The Heat of the Night. And he said, what they call you, boy? They call me Mr. Tips.
Exactly.
Mr. Tips, you see.
But did you watch
they call me Mr. Chow.
We always call you Mr. Chow. Even when we know you, we call you Mr. Chow.
I thought of call the restaurant Lord Chow, but that was going a bit too far.
Mr. Chow. Yes. So did you feel like a Mr. Chow? Did you feel like Michael Chow?
Well, I used to feel like a Mr. Chow. I don't want to be Mr. Chow. Now it's another transition. Now I'm going to be M.
Now you're going to be M, and that stands for?
Yeah. And when these glasses comes off, I'll be M. And they're coming up soon.
Are they? And the glasses were a part of your branding too.
Well, but it's a trade dressing, it's part of it. And also, once I explained that to a journalist, and she was belittling me in the press, saying how sad it is and I should see a psychiatrist, which I did. Basically, the racism is so strong that I need a mask. These glasses are borderline on joke glass, borderline. Little bit more, little bit Bakun, little bit more would be a joke glass, right? So what happens is they look at the glass, they rather look at my Chinese-ness. So anything that helps.
But it's interesting, too, because you started saying that in the Peking Opera, the eyes were the thing.
But
and
these
you concentrated
glasses,
on the eyes.
These glasses, yeah, absolutely. And these guys, also another thing is, in China, man, if they possesses what they call a tiger eye. And I was given tiger eye. I do have a tiger eye.
And that means?
I mean, I can't give you tiger eye. Not evil eye, a tiger eye, slightly different.
Is it
Is
it a positive?
Very positive, yeah. Tiger eye is good.
So, with your tiger eye.
You're breathing out, not good for in Chinese terms, because you're giving away life. Don't do that. It's a bad habit.
Okay, good. So,
just kidding.
When you started Mr. Chow, you had all these hip people coming.
Yeah.
You had the
not
artists,
by accident.
but the artists were poor, and they were always hanging out there. How could they?
Well, not just artists.
No, you had royalty.
Not by accident. You know, piper, right? You
Yeah.
blow the pipe.
So tell us how you did it.
So I say, okay. So number one, I say, piper, you know, you play the flute and everybody follows him, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to create a flute and a flute. And then everybody followed me. So from day one, Mr. Chow. And you know who was there? Jane Seymour was there at the opening.
You had everybody there. No
yeah,
matter
I know.
what
we had
time we
everybody,
went,
yeah.
there was somebody
Well, in
there.
the LA one, we had Eartha Kitt and Steve Clint Eastwood and all that. But in London, that opening was memorable. Like,
You were
allowed
connected
to
to
swear here?
fashion.
No.
You were connected to art. You were connected, well, I don't know if you were connected to royalty, but royalty was there as well. You had the whole gamut. You had food and fashion fusion, I always say, with the arts thrown in. And it was the place to be.
Yeah,
from
but-
the continent, everyone from Italy, Spain,
so
everyone.
therefore, Mr. Chow is not a simple business, you see. Mr. Chow is a devotion, the internal desire and need to fulfill a quest of journey to make the West to respect China
So you
and give me identity at the same time. So this drive internally is very powerful, right? So what I did was, one of the techniques is to make every detail into a universe. So that means every breath I take, I'm making every detail into a universe, make it as good as humanly possible. And when one does that, it filters into each other. And when you filter into each other, accumulatively speaking, every day you do 2 or 3 of detail that's universal, it becomes very, very powerful.
And that was the feeling behind Mr. Chow and
Well, that's
Knightsbridge.
way of life now.
But I mean, it started like that,
Right,
and
yeah.
then it.
Yeah.
Did you pick the menu?
I
You
picked-
said you had all those different
I do-
restaurants.
The very fact that every detail is universal, that means you do every single thing. Every single thing.
So you picked the menu.
Well,
But
let
could
me,
you
let me put
cook?
it, let's take this interview. Did you
Right.
pick the table?
Did I pick the table? No, they put it here for
Well,
me.
you should have.
I think it would have been better had I done
Would
that
have been
right.
better. Would be more integrated. You should pick the chair, pick everything. Pick the studio, pick the thing, blah, 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 pick everything.
But so you did everything.
Yeah.
The menus. You had a.
Even I picked you for this interview. You
You
didn't
did.
know that, though.
No, I've waited, what, 50 years, 60
50.
years? How long have I known you? 60 years, 50
I'm very
years.
patient. I'm Chinese.
No, I have to be patient
Yeah,
because you would never do anything. So the place was totally studied. It was all what you wanted
I
to
don't
do.
want to use the word studied. I
No?
would say it's an almost religious way of life.
That's
So
a good-
whatever comes into your life, whatever it is, the carb, the thing, the bone, the being of the moment, one always want to make it as good as one can. Like
But I
here,
think
right
that's-
now, I'm trying to make it as good as I can, right?
to look as good as
So
we
I
can.
checked the thing, the distance, the angle, the camera, 3 camera, I worked it out. Your cut this way, this is not break for me, I hope I'm not in it. Boom, 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 boom.
So, but I think that's a great philosophy.
Yeah.
You traveled all over. When did you start coming to the United States, and what were your connections here?
Oh, because I'm always connected to the United States because of the movies. You see, I love the movies.
Oh, I know you do.
Because I had
didn't-
such a trauma when I came to London and suffering so much and devastating and become epileptic trauma, you know. In English would be fucked up, right? Completely, internally. This is the boy that got a lot of trauma there, you know.
But nobody could see that.
I
We
know.
couldn't see that.
Yeah, good makeup, it works it. But so I lost the thought.
About coming to Los Angeles, not to Los
Oh,
Angeles, to the
therefore I
United
escaped
States.
through movies.
Oh,
But
right.
I watched movie in London already. Already saw a lot of movies. My mother loved movies.
American movies.
American movies. So I memorized all the American movies.
It
Name me
sounded-
3 shots.
sounded
Name
like
me
it.
3 any movie. Last 70 years. Name me 3.
You're the one who names them.
No, you name me 3 movies. Just quickly.
I can't.
You can't name me 3 movies in the last
No.
70 years?
No.
Any classic movies you can't name? Why not?
Because I'm not so good at that.
What?
I'm not so good at that. I'm asking you.
You can't remember 3
Well,
movies?
you said Scarface.
Okay, Scarface
all right,
one.
Okay.
2 more.
No, we have to go on.
Okay, I'll give you Scarface.
Okay.
I was going to give you first shot of all the movie you're going to name me.
Okay, what were
Scarface
they?
first shot was like this, close up on Al Pacino.
Okay,
He-
another
he's
one.
turning around, he's talking to all the integrator.
Okay.
So in short,
Suddenly
I
Last
collect
Summer.
these visual
Suddenly Last Summer.
And now you're giving me everything. Fantastic. Suddenly last summer, Montgomery arriving
Right.
to the house where Katharine Hepburn descending the staircase. That's the first shot. Thank you. Next.
So,
Enough.
So, and before we go on any further, you did say that you made a lot of movies.
I made 16 movies. I started in 1956 with a movie called Violent Playground. Maybe you know these people. I don't know. Stanley Baker, you know who he is?
Yes.
And Peter Cushing.
Yes, I remember these names.
So I was working with them in 1953. It's called Violent Playground. I did 2 months' work in Liverpool.
Oh, so
Directed by Basil Dearden. And that was the beginning of my acting career, where they're usually not very good, some parts and
I forgot you were an actor too.
And
I
James
didn't
Bond
that.
movie.
I didn't I forgot that. You actually acted
Yeah.
too. Was it during painting? During the restaurant? When was it?
Well, I never had a job. I mean, I have a little job maybe for a month. That's about it. I never worked for anybody, and I starved once, you know, whatever, and went to hospital and everything. But so I'm always a painter, and I has luckily enough do some movies, and even the movie money is not a lot, but I survived through that.
But you were on the set, which you probably loved.
On the set of what?
Making these movies.
Of course, I'm on the set.
No, but I mean, that was something that you liked. You were like involved in being.
No, I loved movies. Yeah, I love movie anyway. So
Yeah.
I love making movies, and with all that goes with it.
Okay, let's get back to New York. So you came.
Right.
You knew when you came to when you came to the United States.
Right. Oh, I came to open Mr. Chow in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that happen?
Well, because it raises them again. I want the world to be connected. I want to be international. I want to be globalization. I don't want to be provincial. I don't want to be insulated, opposite to present atmosphere.
But you ended up living in New York.
No,
You had a
I'm
great
a traveler. I'm like a
apartment.
Western knight, so to speak. I traveled. I done my London thing, and I want to go abroad. So I opened, in fact, not New York first, in Los Angeles first. That's 44 years ago. Here,
You opened here first?
yeah, 44 years ago, right?
Oh, I
And
did
the
not know
restaurant
that.
here, which you're very familiar with, is
On
designed
Camden.
by me. All restaurants were designed by me, which, as is today, we never change anything.
But to me, I remember New York so well because it was like theater.
You want to go back to New York? Okay.
I want to go
that's
back
no
to New
problem.
York because I want to do Beverly
Well,
Hills.
everything's like theater. You weren't there in London, the theater.
Right.
You weren't there in LA, the theater. You happen to be in New York theater. Okay, let's talk about New York theater.
Let's talk about it. You walking off the street and there's this platform.
For opening, the New York opening, end of Studio 54,
Oh, right.
Ian Traeger, they were all not there for other reasons, and they gave me a party for 1,000 people. That was the closing of 54th Street. So Mr. Chow kind of took over from that crowd in 1 year before 1980. I don't know what year is that.
Wow.
Just kidding.
1979?
Nothing very much. And then, so that is like a jewel box. And now I'm involving with a new group of artists, which is the ones that you're talking about.
We'll talk
You know,
about,
Keith
right.
Haring, John Shabosky, Andy Warhol, and Julian Schnabel.
And they were all there. They were all at
But I don't know
Mr.
whether they
Chow,
were
New
there.
York.
Anyway, I don't know whether they were there or
Yes.
not, but I certainly blow a whistle, and like a magnet, they have a tendency to come towards me because the feelings are neutral. We have a connection.
But I think there's something when you talk about it as being theater, I think people love to go to those restaurants, your restaurants, because you're the center. The person who's there as a client is the center. People are looking at them. It's like you've got the camera on people.
Well, put it in another way. You see, the biggest
Conception.
perception is that restaurant high-end is not like a bank. Restaurant is like a musical, like theater.
Wow.
So most restaurants high-end are behaving and treating everybody like in the bank, which is very boring. But on the other hand, if you go to a theater, and what is the theater's rule? The theater number one rule is don't bore the audience. So therefore, you create a theater, you have a leading man, you have a center, you have one moment after next, full of action.
Entertaining.
Entertaining. When the server walks down this road, it's basically same as an actor walking down.
Exactly.
And the way he put down the glass got to be beautiful, got to be rehearsed. So in theater, there must be rehearsal and there must be a center. And there must be a home. And everybody is paying guest. So these are very basic, fundamental philosophy, but it's very difficult to follow through.
I was going to say, a lot of people can't do that. And I'm going to come back and ask you more questions. We're going to take a break, and we're going to find out about the theater of restaurants, about Michael Chow's painting, about his designing at Armani. I keep talking to you, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Beverly Hills View. I'm here with Michael Chow, and we're going to talk about his restaurant on Camden. We're going to talk about the Armani shop on Rodeo, but we're going to talk about him as a restaurateur, an artist, a designer, and a collector. So, hi, Michael.
Hi.
We
Hello.
did talk
Hello
about
again.
We did talk about Mr. Chow in Beverly Hills
Right.
and how it got started. But
Yes.
tell me how it came to Los Angeles before you started in New York. Why here?
As I said earlier, to do anti-racism, you want globalization. You want to be international, you don't want to be localized, and therefore you want the restaurant to be international. So Mr. Chow enjoyed being almost 45 years ago, first restaurant, high-end, that went abroad, like
You were the first that went abroad from London,
yeah,
right?
this is the first restaurant, yeah.
And you said you designed the interior,
Yeah, of course.
and it looks as sharp and as fresh today as it did, how many, 40-something years ago?
Thank you. So basically, there's a fundamental philosophy behind it, and basically, I'm an artist. So it doesn't matter whether I paint, I do restaurant, I do theater, I write screenplay, I direct movies, whatever I do, I'm an artist. So, and to be artist is a very simple word. You put it, you just based on truth. And if you based on truth, everything lasts forever. Unlike herpes.
Did you call on any artists to help you? Because this
Artists to help me in the world.
or the art in the restaurant. There's art
Oh,
in
art
the restaurant.
in the restaurant. Well,
Yeah.
I have a
Let's
group
talk
of
about
friend
that.
of mine. Yeah. So we one needs art in the restaurant and so on. So in the beginning, we sort of not anymore. I exchanged food for them to be there and so on.
To have their
To
art
exchange, to exchange the art, yes.
like a trade.
Like a trade, yeah.
But the kites that hang,
Yeah. It's not kites because the kites is worth $1 less or $1 million less.
but very Chinese.
They're mobile. No, this is based on the floor, and the floor is based on the LA story, which is Rudolph Valentino, who has a checkerboard dance floor in his home. That's very famous. This is historical Hollywood fact. And the restaurant opening in his floor spirit, and therefore the painting, the mobile painting out of Richard Smith to matching the floor.
So Richard
Which is
Smith,
black and white.
So it's Richard Smith, black and white.
Yeah.
That restaurant probably has a feel that never went away because of what you're talking about. All the
Well, basically the
background.
theater, the theater is important, I think, because to do with scenery, to do with actors, to do with the audience, and it's all about audience, right? Every night there's a performance and there's the audience. Every night the audience is different. But the fundamental philosophy is don't bore the audience and get everyone moving and excited. You know.
You have great pieces of art there.
Yeah.
You have Andy Warhol portrait of you, black and white, which I absolutely love, and which in this book, Recipe for a Painter, you have the first photograph you took of yourself, which was like a black and white photograph.
Yeah. Well, that is 1959, some long time ago.
Really early.
Yeah. And what I did was with the Hesper with the automatic thing on the thing, and I threw a glass of water against the camera and kept it, and then one eye. Artists, I don't know why, always hiding one eye. I think the reason they hide one eye is make the other eye more powerful.
Well, we're back to eyes again. You're very influenced from the opera. I
yeah.
see that a lot. What is famous on your menu?
Oh, what is it? Well, basically, you know, again, in the spirit of Chinese culture, and since we are dealing with cuisine, and of course, the most prestigious dish in China is Beijing duck, and that's the most important one.
I forgot.
The second one, of course, is very magical, which also Mr. Chow introduced to the West, which is noodle pulling, which is kind of magical, right?
Fantastic. Well, that was theater.
Yeah, that was theater, absolutely.
That was
many
theater.
things are theater.
You have a
Yeah,
glass
absolutely.
window
Yeah.
into the kitchen, and they used to come out into the aisle.
No,
and
that
do
they
the-
used to. They do every night
They do?
for 50 years on 8 locations. Right now we have 8 restaurants, and every night they religiously comes out and perform. Yeah.
And how do they start? Just tell my audience how it starts.
Oh, start with take a piece of dough. They keep on banging it to make it behave, and then they stretch it, and make it behave, and stretch it, and make it behave. Eventually, they double itself. So instead of lump of noodle, you double itself, become 2, 4, 8, 16,
you have these
32,
long
64, 64. So can you imagine? So 64 become very thin. Yeah.
No, they're fantastic.
And they're very fresh when you cook it. It only takes a few seconds to cook it, the noodle.
So I remember I remember back when Charles Gallet used to be across the street on
Correct.
Camden, and you collaborated with him on a fashion show with Zandra Rhodes.
That's correct.
Early.
Yes.
And Dame Zandra was from London, of course.
Right.
You knew her.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always been very close to Sandra, and I think she also introduced my first wife to Tina, and I did show with her. I did show with Yves Saint Laurent with Clay Rendlesham. I don't know whether you remember. I did many fashion shows. I mean, produced, that is.
So this was just a part of what you had been doing before.
Well, I do everything, you know, fashion, arts, theater,
Tell
painting,
us how it did. They
poetry.
started at Mr. Chow and went across the street to Charles Gallet. Were they dressing in your place? What were they doing? I can't remember. It was like a long runway.
Yeah. Well, this is part of the fashion show. That's what you got to do: change clothes and run around with the clothes.
But we had Camden in between, which was great, I thought, because it was like from one fantastic entity to another fantastic entity. The other thing that I know, Larry Gagosian has a great gallery up the street on Camden, and he has a lot of dinners at Mr. Chow to honor his artists. And one of them I remember was the Ed Ruscha opening. It was very star-studded. And do you have any input in those dinners, or does it all?
No.
It all comes from. You don't choose the menus. You
No.
don't make suggestions. Okay. Another one I remember was the Oscar party, and you had a big tent in the back, and Valentino, the designer, was holding court, and which reminded me a lot of your connection to fashion. And how did you become so connected to fashion?
I'm very fashionable. Just kidding.
Not yourself.
I don't know, fashion. You know, it's a fashion is stimulating life. Deal with glamour. Deal with the life. Deal with beauty of life. You know, so it's connected.
So it was like part
anything
of it.
visual. I mean, fashion is extraordinary visual. Yeah.
And thinking back again, I kept trying to put the connection from your fashion to say Valentino and Zandra and different designers in Europe and Paris, and Giorgio Armani came to mind, of course, because you designed that shop. How did that happen? How was your connection?
Because he saw my design in London and in New York, and he was blown away, and he sent me immediately 80 couture men's costume, and all the waiters started wearing it, like $80,000. That was a long time ago.
But
For a
he
lot of
saw
money, huh?
your restaurants and loved the
Yeah,
design.
he's so impressed by my interior.
And then
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about my painting, which
We're
is
going
which
to.
my soul and thing. We don't have much
we're,
time
we're
left.
on
So,
our way.
yeah.
We're on our
So
way.
basically, I'm an artist. I painted 10 years when I was very young. Then I have to give away by so-called political reasons.
Yeah.
And then I took another course, which is to promote China through the theater of the restaurant.
Yes.
To make connection and make, which I was very happy to be part of it. And then I came back to painting about 5 years ago, and now I'm singly just passionately painting.
And since
yeah.
you've been painting, you've had an exhibition at the
I had
Warhol Museum.
three museum shows so far in the last 5 years, and continue to paint religiously.
And a great show in China.
Yeah.
So how did that feel going back to China and having a big art show?
Well, I connected that to my father's celebration. China celebrated his 120th birthday. So I took opportunity. Of course, China knows all about my father. So it's like he's like a household name, right? In fact, I was Googling the other day. Not Googling, Siri. You go to a Chinese language and you just say his name and it all comes.
Oh,
you just say his
great.
name and it all comes. So I said, wow, that's cool. And V was telling me how to do that. But back to painting, I'm very fortunate at my age, to be able to paint. To me, the painting profession is the most noblest profession you can have in today's world. And so I'm religiously painting and very
Did you
active.
ever stop? Did you actually stop painting when
Yes,
you were
actually
working?
stop. Very important to actually stop. If I didn't,
stopped.
I didn't, I would be destroyed. I would look at it in another way. I would say I painted 10 years, then they froze me.
I see.
And when I came back, the world slightly in a different place, better climate, and better chance for me to be successful as a painter, and which happened to be true. And that's what I'm doing.
I think there's a different growth in Michael Chow too during that period. So you had
Of
more
course,
confidence,
internally
right?
it grows.
Yeah.
And also I'm always involved with arts.
Exactly.
And therefore I'm always involved with the restaurant. And since the restaurant is a theater, it's a long-running musical for 50 years.
It is, it is. Do you have your own studio?
Yes, I started with 100 square feet, and people keep on asking, where do you paint? Kind of racist statement. And I say, I paint in the laundry room behind the restaurant. So I'm fed up with that
That sounds
conversation.
good.
And that was 5 years ago. And today I fortunately enjoy a 57,000 square feet compound studio.
Please.
Yes, true.
So you have a big studio,
57,000 square feet.
but you also make big paintings, right?
Yeah, make big, yeah.
How big are they?
Well, the tallest one maybe 17 feet. The widest one I just finished is 36 feet wide, yeah.
So how do you describe your work in your own way? Because
Well,
I don't want
come
to
from the
critique
abstract expressionist school and just a reinterpretation. Art is based on two things. One is the artist's relay from the caveman to today. It's a continuous relay. And a talented artist will be responsibility to connect it to the past, spin it, contribute, and then that's the artist's job. The first job of artist. Second job of artist must use the new current world importance and express it into his work.
What kind of materials do you use?
I created two kinds of material which never seen by man. One is I use my painting, if you look at it, I use like 100 gallons of paint in one painting. I pour it into skins of paint.
On the canvas. Is it on the floor?
Not on the canvas.
No?
It's made separately. Pour paint into paint sheets. And the other one I use is sterling silver melted down into sheets. And both of them are sculptural, both of them are collage based, both of them are half sculpture, half painting, and both of them always looking for this excellence, this transcendence of spirituality of the thing. So the spirit is always the same. Every artist do the same thing.
But you make what you collage onto your canvas. You make it on the floor by pouring the paint, by
Not
doing
on the floor, on the
silver?
table.
I
Yes,
mean, on
I'm
the
physically
table?
make everything.
You
yes.
physically make it.
Which is yes.
So it's not found objects.
Not a found out job in the sense you're referring to Duchamp and all that. Sometimes I've used some, but once a movement came out, you cannot ignore it. It's a part of the relay of the, yeah.
No,
Sometimes I put some.
Like
fine
sometimes,
objects.
one of the paintings has a glove in it. a rubber glove. That's what I meant by saying
Yeah,
found
there are some
objects.
found objects, absolutely.
So do you use much of that in
I
it?
use everything, whatever is available to me.
And then do you have music on when you're painting?
I never used to because I find it a little bit distraction and then a little bit. But now I only play Elvis. Every
You
day.
do?
Same Elvis. Everybody's sick and tired of it, and I got used to it.
And then how many people are helping you with these huge
I tell you why I play Elvis, because my painting is rhythmic. My body is rhythmic. And I move very fast, and I dance really good. So Elvis give me this rhythm, internal, external, and my painting's in the rhythm. And spontaneity. It's under control accident.
Can we show one of these?
Not really.
Like, would this be like
No, really.
fast?
I didn't send you any because I didn't want you to look at it, but
sorry.
you have your own book. That's okay.
I
But
have
now,
my own book.
we have to start again. Sorry, we have to start this thing again. Just
Okay.
kidding.
No, this is okay, right? Does this show movement?
What?
This is the movement that we're talking about?
No, I'm not talking about that movement. I'm talking about in Chinese calligraphy, it's a movement. It's one breath.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You follow me?
Yeah,
In
but
Chinese calligraphy, it's one breath, or something a little bit you're a little bit more familiar with. In martial arts, it's one breath. Do you see that?
so that goes on the canvas?
Everything comes to here, right?
Right.
The whole thing about karate is the whole strength, everything to this finger. Chung. So this is internal. This is very Chinese.
You're more Chinese than I thought you were.
Yeah. No, internally 100% Chinese. Only externally, I have to disguise into a more acceptable form.
I think one of the great things that you're talking about when you say that an artist's life is so good and it's so long because you can paint for so long. You paint by yourself. You don't need other people to be around you. And you give of yourself.
Well, I think more importantly, the spirituality to
Don't you think that's what it is?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a critique of your work, but what I've done is I've read that saying your work is fluid, organic, textured, and I think that could easily have come from a restaurant reviewer because it all is.
Well, this particular show, I put a recipe for a painter. The
Which is
difference between a recipe and painting. The recipe is a craft. Painting is an art. Difference between craft and art.
Craft.
The craft seeks for perfection. Art seeks for expression, which is more superior. And craft want every time the same. Art do not.
Right. So
Therefore,
it's a
a
change.
leaf is more precise than the machine.
Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I think that we've finished,
Let's
and
do
I
it.
think we've come full circle.
Full circle.
We came all the way,
Yes.
starting in Beverly Hills and back to Beverly Hills. So I want to thank you, Michael,
Thank you.
so much.
That's my
so
shame.
much.
Thank you.
So much. And thank you for watching the Beverly Hills View today. We'll see you next time.